Greetings, everyone. Welcome to this keynote session entitled Marketing and Ethics in Social Media. We will share a presentation to make it easier to follow the session. Thank you. Uh, it is a pleasure to be part of this conference, Ethicom 2021. And first of all, I would like to introduce my partners in this session. We have a Texan professor from the University of San Francisco, Professor Ricardo Villarreal. Hello, Ricardo.
Hello, Pablo. Hello, Pedro. Thank you very much.
The other professor is Pedro Cuesta Boliño from University of Alcalá. Hello, Pedro.
Hello, Pablo. Hello, Ricardo.
And myself, Pablo Gutierrez Rodriguez from the University of León. And we will then discuss the proposed topic based on three ideas. The topic is marketing and ethics in social media. And the first idea is the use of personal data in social media to influence political campaigns and behaviors, as well as the changing algorithms to influence people's emotions in the social media. Professor Villarreal will start by talking about a real case that clarifies this first idea. Professor Villarreal, thank you.
Thank you very much, Pablo. And thank you all to the participants as well. Yes, to bring to light the first topic, we're going to talk about the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal. If you recall, about 2018, Cambridge Analytica got access to about 87 million Facebook users without their knowledge or consent, right? In which case, of course, after consumers found out, they were completely unhappy. One of the most important aspects of this particular case was not just that they accessed the data, but the algorithms they used to make use of the data, right? And unfortunately, the data the algorithms that were used to manipulate consumer thoughts and perceptions about important topics. So this is not the first time that something like this has happened before. Back in 2010, during the congressional elections in the US, 61 million Facebook users' data was taken or used, and shouldn't say manipulated, but used algorithms to influence those Facebook users in terms of their voting behavior during that election, right? Now, the same thing was done again in 2012, where voters were, with their personal data and the use of algorithms, were somewhat manipulated in terms of their voting practices. Now, you can imagine that the use of algorithms is applied to large data sets, and such groups like Facebook and Google, who have a large amount of consumer data, tend to get blamed, right? That the use of their data without consent of the consumer in a manner that may be considered manipulative through the use of algorithms is problematic. And in some cases, people suggested that both Facebook and Google really need to do more in order to protect our democracy when algorithms are used to that effect. Thank you.
Thank you. After your interesting presentation about this case, I would like to suggest that the use of algorithms is very difficult to regulate, and a great effort must be made to raise awareness among companies. Do you agree?
Yes, I think awareness around all parties involved, not only companies, users, consumers, third-party groups that have access to user data. It's important because the issue is not only access to consumer data, but again, how that data is going to be used and the extent to which algorithms will be used in a manner that can be seen as manipulative, right? This is all still relatively new, and usually in the beginning of some new era, we're learning about the pros and cons of what we've created. And that's what's going on now. I think we're learning about the pros and cons and what we've created and what can we do to protect everyone involved. Now, some, both in the US and the European Union, for example, they have the initiative that ethics guidelines for trustworthy AI, right? So again, the starting point and the government's getting involved. In the US, we have DARPA's Explainable AI program. Again, this hopefully will have the benefit of protecting consumers, protecting brands, right, who have consumer data, and protecting third-party users as well. So the importance is trust, right? We need to trust the people we do business with and trust that the data that they have on us, will be taken care of.
Thank you, Ricardo. Now, the second idea inside of this topic is data management and data protection in the social media environment. Professor Pedro Cuesta now is going to explain or give us a sample focus on this idea. Professor Cuesta?
Okay. Well, let's talk about the latest data breach that included all kinds of private data from 50 million Facebook users. Of course, the company didn't characterize this massive scandal as a data breach, and technically it isn't. You see, Facebook's terms and conditions allow the company to gather to store all kinds of user data, your photos, likes, online activity, will you are on Facebook, and will you are browsing the web in general, pages you visit, purchases you make online, your contact list, even your location. It's all stored somewhere on Facebook service, used for one major purpose: to give the network better data for advertising purposes. Names are unimportant here. All that matter is the data: your age group, your gender, where you live, which brands you like, everything but your name. Metadata used by the company to serve better ads function, better which south names, and we aren't even numbers. For Facebook and another social networks and many online services, we are just nodes filled with lucrative data that can make those nodes spend more and more money and raise the profit margin. If worse, Facebook gives access to their user data to anyone who integrates Facebook login to their app or has an app or a page on Facebook. In other words, not only Facebook does have your data, but many other individuals.
Thank you very much, Pedro, for giving us, reminding us of all the data that they collect on us every time we use a particular app. It seems to me that in this your particular section, it's about third-party access. So in your opinion, how do you think firms should manage third-party access to user data?
Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting question, important question. From my point of view, in the current environment, personal responsibility is probably the best option for consumers. That is, each person must decide it for themselves if the benefit of using a particular social media app outweighs the risk of possible misuse of one's personal data. I think this is my opinion.
Right, yeah. As we learned here in the States, caveat emptor, the buyer beware, right? We have full and complete information to make an informed decision. So
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Pedro. Now, the last idea is focused on the recognition of companies' mistakes in the social media. We know that there are more than 3 billion people on social media around the globe, and they are using social media to engage with brands. Then this channel offers a great opportunity, a way to reach new and potential customers. And if you develop a good management, you are going to have new opportunities. But companies usually they are making mistakes. For example, Facebook. We can see two examples before. And now through real cases, you can see some of the social media marketing mistakes. Some examples we are going to see. These mistakes can affect companies' social media marketing performance, and the best way to solve them is to learn from these mistakes made by other companies and how they recognize the mistakes. But usually companies are not recognizing their mistakes, for example, Facebook, or we are going before than a good example. We're going to talk about the example where the company didn't recognize the mistake. And we're talking about Pepsi, that in 2017 drew a barrage of negative publicity for an ad featuring Kendall Jenner, in which she fueled a riot by offering a police officer a can of Pepsi, a gesture with caused cheers from the onlooking protesters. We're going to watch this ad before to follow this presentation. Okay. Given that in the US was a time in controversy over the killing by police of African American Jews, and the Black Lives Matter movement was gaining force with protests over perceived unlawful killing happenings all over the country, the idea that a protest could be cooled by a can of soda was not well received, to say the least, is normal. Following that release, Pepsi was attacked on social media as they were seen to be capitalists on the Black Lives Matter movement to sell soft drink. Uh, After or Pepsi decided to pull the ad, but a few months later, they were not so sure about that they did the right thing, and they continued to defend the ad, demonstrating that the company still didn't get what all the fuss was about. Now, faced with this situation, we can find companies that apologize for their mistake after seeing the sitting situation in social media. For example, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Um, Kentucky Fried Chicken, after run out of its most important ingredient, chicken, had a temporarily shut down its 900 restaurant in the UK. Angry customers took to social media. Kentucky Fried Chicken took a risk by adding few more to its apology in a masterful and self-deprecating way. It took out an ad that simply, so you can see in the picture, is signature chicken bucket with a reward logo, FCK, paired with a brief explanation of the problem and above that it wouldn't happen again. Kentucky Fried Chicken saved its brand and its chicken, of course. This we can see at least now a sample where companies are apologizing to the customers.
Thank you very much, Pablo. Those are some really interesting examples. Let me ask, if you don't mind, because we showed an example that didn't go well and this one that did go well. So what do you think explains why consumers either accept or reject a company's apology for a particular or given mistake?
Usually we are professional. Usually we are talking about concept as brand trust and credibility. And I think in this case, we are talking about apologize is the most important thing for consumer. And if you admitting mistake, you are reinforced this idea of credibility and brand trust. This is the only reason, and the most important reason, because it's working to recognize mistakes by the companies. I think that is very important and is the right way. I think so. I think so.
Right, I would agree.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We try to show these three ideas, focus on the topic marketing and ethics in social media. Thank you very much for for paying attention to this video and watch this video in the Ethicon conference, and nothing more. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.